go.
Hey there guys, welcome to Wild Wednesday. You might notice I'm wearing a face mask. Hopefully everyone is out there still practicing their social distancing, making sure to take care. Make sure you wash your hands, things of that nature. Anyway, today's Wild Wednesday is going to have, I think, a really fun theme. We're going to talk about some dangerous animals today. And so we're going to talk about animals that have the potential to harm you. And that is usually through either being poisonous or being venomous. And so the first thing we should really distinguish is, well, what's the difference between poison and venom? And so I always hear, oh, we got those poisonous snakes around here. They're talking about rattlesnakes. Rattlesnakes are not poisonous. And so how you tell the difference is, well, how that toxin is administered. So if you want to come over here and take a little look at this guy right here. This is Trevor. This is a smooth-sided toad, not native to the U.S., but this is a poisonous toad. So if Trevor was here to bite me, I'm going to be A-okay. It's not going to hurt me at all. However, if I'm going to bite Trevor, well, then that's when I'm really going to start having some problems. So Trevor here has a poison that can actually cause cardiac arrest, makes your heart stop. And so we make sure not to touch Trevor too much.
Trevor is deep in thought.
He's always very stoic looking with big old eyes. And so these large glands right here at the tip of my pinky, this is where the poison is administered or secreted from. It's usually called a bufatine toxin. It comes from the genus Bufo, which is the old genus for a lot of toads. And so the skin itself is not actually where the poison comes from, just right here in these glands. And usually if you agitate them, they'll start frothing. It looks kind of like a little white foam coming out of there. And so poison is if I touch it or I eat it sorry, Trevor, and I die or get sick, then it is a poisonous animal. So we're going to differentiate between venom now. So venom is if something bites you and you get sick or you die, that is how that toxin is being administered. It's being injected into you. So if it bites you or stings you, it is injecting venom. And so that's kind of the major distinction between the two. So this is really our only poisonous animal that we have. We're going to show you some of the venomous animals we have. And some of them you might have seen before, but I want to tell you a little bit about the different types of venom that they use. And before I go off too crazy, I want to dispel a myth that in West Texas, this myth seems to be all over the place, and that is daddy longlegs. So some people say daddy longlegs are the most poisonous spider in the world. Well, that's wrong on so many different levels. One, it wouldn't be poison, it'd be venom. Two, true daddy longlegs don't even have venom. They don't even have fangs, so they can't even bite you. And three, they're not spiders. And so, I want to show you real quick the difference between a daddy longlegs and a true daddy longlegs. So right here, this is what we call a cellar spider. I have them all over my studio. I hate them. They drive me crazy. But you can notice that this animal has a head and a butt region, and so I'm going to try to very gently show you without breaking off any legs here. You can kind of see here's the little butt and here's the head, the prosoma and the opistosoma. So this is a true spider. That means it has fangs. Spiders are the only arachnids that actually have fangs. And so this is a cellar spider, not a true daddy longlegs. Now this little guy that I have, this is what a true harvestman looks like. And some of them do have longer legs. This is one of the short-legged daddy longlegs. And so, you'll notice that it doesn't really look like it has a head or a butt anymore. It's just kind of one big body piece. And so, let's see if I can get that any closer, staying in focus. Kind of hard to see. There you go. So, that is a true harvestman, not venomous. Really, all they can kind of do is they secrete a foul-smelling liquids. They smell bad. They stink. A lot of animals protect themselves that way. But if you were to look at their mouth parts, they almost look like tiny little pinchers, and that's what they do, is they just kind of grab food and tear it apart with those. But they do not have fangs. So, both of these animals are harmless. Cellar spiders, not really going to cause you any problems. I am going to show you some spiders that can cause some problems that we have around here. And just so it goes without saying, if you see any of these animals that I show you today, which some of them are Texas natives, I would definitely suggest not picking them up. That is my professional advice to you, is if you don't know what you're doing with it, just leave it alone, especially if you come across any venomous snakes. So, our first one here, which I think just about everyone knows, is the Black Widow. And so I'm going to open this container up. She's hiding right now.
Is this the Black Widow that was in my house the other day, Mr. Maddox?
No, that one I actually haven't set up in a cage yet. So here is this Black Widow. you'll notice that it's not really moving. They like to play dead. And that's kind of a general rule for most venomous animals, is they don't really they're not coming after you. They're not trying to bite you. They're not like, hey, look at that guy over there. I'm going to go ruin his day. What it is they're protecting themselves. I am way bigger than this spider. It can't really comprehend. All it knows is it's in danger. And so the nice thing about black widows is they're kind of reluctant to bite. They're not out there to get you. And they have what's called latrotoxin. And so latrotoxin, if you were to be bit by it, the chances of dying are very, very slim. But what it's going to do is it's going to make your heart race, make your head hurt. It's going to give you some of the worst abdominal cramps you've ever felt. Now, unfortunately, let me see if I can coax her on here. Once again, do not try this at home, guys. I'm going to see if I can get her to show us that nice little red hourglass that they have. So most black widows like this just play dead. And as a general rule for venomous animals, like I said, they don't want to come after you because venom is very energetically expensive to make. It's kind of like running a marathon. And so if these guys aren't going to get any food out of it, they really don't want to waste their venom. So a lot of bites, if you're really lucky, are dry bites. So, now that I got her on here, maybe we can see that red hourglass. Is that coming through?
Oh, yes.
So this is Latrodectus mactans. This is what we have all over the place. We have several different species of widow. But I guess another fun fact about them, aside from their venom, is that they have like the second strongest animal-made material. Their silk is about 50 times stronger than steel. So pretty strong stuff. You can definitely tell their webs. They don't have any organization. And if you rip through the web, it kind of sounds like Velcro tearing. So that is a black widow. Our next one is one that I would be a little bit more hesitant around. And the problem with these guys, like the black widows, is they like to live where we live. And so this next one is Loxosceles reclusa. This is the brown recluse.
And if y'all watch our nature trail video, we also found one out in the wild.
Yeah, so maybe we can get a better look on this one than out there. It's not as bright. So this is just a brown recluse. This is one of the most common species. We have several different subspecies in Texas, but it's kind of hard to see. Sometimes it's not very distinct, which makes them hard to identify. They have that little violin on the back of their head.
I might be able to get just a little glimpse of it.
A little glimpse? I can maybe...
Let's see if I can get it to focus in on it.
Let's see if this flashlight, if we can turn it down low.
Oh, I've got a really good... There we go. That's a good bit of light.
Ooh, yeah. So there's that little kind of fiddle on the back right there. These guys, the good news is they're also not very aggressive, and their fangs are so tiny that a lot of times they can't actually break the skin unless there's counter pressure applied, which is unfortunate because that means when you roll over one or you smack one on you or you just kind of apply some pressure, you push the fangs into you. And these guys, like a lot of the six-eyed spiders, they have what's called a necrotic venom. And so this is one that's going to start destroying muscle tissues, destroying skin. If you get a really bad bite, which about 10% of bites go like nuclear, it looks pretty bad. You look kind of like a zombie right there, and it takes a long time to heal. Luckily, most times the bites do not have that reaction, so that is good news. Just be careful around wood piles if you're ever piling up firewood or you have a lot of wood stacked up in your garage. These guys like nice dry places like that. So, those are some spiders that are a little bit dangerous around here. Tarantulas, while they do have venom, they do not have, at least the ones here in Texas, do not have venom that really hurts us. It's going to hurt because, well, you can see tarantulas have very large fangs. This is an exoskeleton from our Goliath. So that is a big fang. So even if the venom wasn't that bad, that's gonna hurt. That's like getting stuck with a mesquite spine all the way or something. So these fangs are actually larger than a rattlesnake's. But they have a little tiny hole at the end here, how they administer venom. And so, unfortunately, I can't see it. Sometimes you, yeah, you can. It's very, you probably won't be able to see it on the camera.
We'll see.
But there's just a tiny little hole at the tip of the fangs here. And so they inject it like a hypodermic needle.
Where'd it go? Where'd it go? There it is. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know that it's going to pick it up, but if you can actually see on the very tip of that fang, there's a little bit of a angle increase. It starts going much steeper as an angle, and I think that's what Mr. Maddox is talking about, is that helps give that injection side. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out, though, because it's getting real shaky.
Alrighty, so I'm going to show you a tarantula that does have some slightly more potent venom. So once you get down to South America, or if you get over Africa and Asia, you'll start to find tarantulas that pack a wallop. And so a lot of tarantula venom in us, if it bites us, it targets pain receptors. And so it hurts a lot. But there's never been a recorded death from a tarantula. So I'm going to show you this one. This one is a South American species called a skeleton leg.
Oh, I see why.
If I can coax her out. Oh, jeez. She's not happy. Immediately tried to attack my tongs. So, this girl, while she's actually being really nice right now, usually throws up some threat displays. But they do have very potent venom, and this venom tends to work pretty well on what they capture. On us, it just hurts like crazy. And so they're actually using a lot of tarantula venom for pain research, for better things to help numb pain after surgeries and things of that nature. So, I guess you're going to be kind of nice today. She's usually a little more angry than this. I was hoping to get a threat display, but I'm not going to antagonize her. So, much like snakes, these guys use that very nice hypodermic fang there. This is a
this one's web is significantly different looking from some of the other ones that I've seen as well.
Normally they burrow, but instead of burrowing, she just started laying down a web, and she lays down a lot of layers at a time. I actually got to clean it out. Probably give her a fresh slate, because that web looks kind of old. She just molted, so it's probably safe to clean that out. Alrighty. So, I guess while we're on arachnids, our next one here is a scorpion. And so scorpions we're all kind of familiar with.
Hello again, buddy.
They administer venom from the end of their little aculeus here. They have a stinger at the end of their tail, and so their venom gland is inside there, and they are capable of injecting it. Most scorpions use a neurotoxic venom, and so if it is a neurotoxin, that means it's going to cause paralysis, and so when you have a really dangerous scorpion, it starts paralyzing things like your diaphragm, so you can't breathe very well. And so these guys, this one, while it's not a particularly dangerous scorpion, it definitely will hurt. But you can see it's a nice little stinger on there. And so another fun fact is scorpions don't really have tails. All of this what we would call the tail, that's actually the body. The body is very elongate, and then if you want to consider anything the tail, it would just be the little aculeus, little stinger here on the end, because the scorpion's butt is right where I'm poking. Right there at the end of this. So this is all just a weird long body, not quite a tail, which is kind of fun. Fun fact. Alright, this is Asian forest scorpion. Painful, but not life-threatening.
Just remember, don't touch its butt.
Yes. Good rule of thumb for a lot of animals. Alrighty. Once again, I'll bring out one of our native centipedes.
Hello again.
So these guys do have very painful venom, but they don't use fangs. They do have, in the very, very front, right next to the head, they have these modified legs that are called forcipules.
Right away.
And so these guys actually inject venom with legs, so a little bit different than biting you, but it hurts all the same. So if you ever see one of these, I would just steer clear. This is one of the few animals that I will ever even try to pick up or touch. Alrighty. So, we've already talked a lot about those guys. They are active predators. Won't dwell too much. For our last one here, I do have, pardon the cage here, I have our little hognose snake.
No.
So this is technically a venomous snake. They're very popular in the pet trade, but they're rear-fanged venomous, which means their fangs are all the way in the back here. And so these guys specialize in eating toads. They have very wide mouths, and they use those fangs in the back to pop toads. Now the venom on these guys is pretty mild. If you were to be bit by one of these, it's probably going to be kind of like a bee sting. If you have an allergic reaction, it might be a little bit worse. But these guys are not usually too aggressive, and so I guess when we're talking about different types of venoms, when we think of venomous snakes, we usually think of a couple things, like rattlesnakes around here. Rattlesnakes have what's called hematoxin, which is, it targets blood cells. And so if you actually take some venom and put it in some blood, it'll start coagulating it, and it looks really gross after a while. The other one that we that you probably have heard of is the coral snake. Red touches yellow, kills a fellow. Red touches black, friend of Jack. And so the Texas coral snake has a really strong neurotoxin. And actually, it's one of the few snakes that are not immune to their own venom. So the coral snakes, if they bite themselves, they can actually die from it. And they are specialized in eating other snakes and lizards. So their neurotoxin is particularly strong against snakes.